Coming off a strong hand and black type victories on the first 2 days of the Caulfield Carnival, Lindsay Park heads to the $3 million Caulfield Cup with a hand of 4 runners in the world's richest 2400 metre handicap. David Hayes from Lindsay Park here with me to preview a massive day at Caulfield. And David, it kicks off in race 1, the Resi Max Group Plate, 1400 metres for the fillies. River Jewel sent there for Damien Lane with 57 kilos, drawn barrier 7.
Yeah, we saved her for this. She drew a bit wide the other day. Track work's been good, and she gives me the impression 14 will suit her. Justice
Glory also engaged in that race for the returning Chad Schofield, who's got the ride on Harlem later in the day.
She's very good fresh, and she jarred up last start. We weren't 100% happy with her. We backed off her, and she's got a good record fresh, so we're hoping she can bounce back into form.
Race 2 is the Polytrack Gothic Stakes. Would have thought so. Comes off its monster close to win its maiden at Ballarat.
Probably as impressive maiden as we've had for a while. We're hoping he can perform well here and set him up for a race at Flemington called the Carbine Club Stakes. Joe Maria will be a bonus, and I'm sure he'll run well.
Race 3 is the New Zealand Bloodstock Ethereal Stakes for the fillies over 2,000 metres. Rim Ram for Chad Schofield, having drawn barrier 6, broke its maiden at Geelong, 4 straight seconds prior to that in superb form.
Yeah, she really is. She hasn't been crushing the line, so we put the blinkers on, and we think that'll just make the difference. She is stepping up in class, and I think will hopefully stamp herself as an Oaks filly.
From the fillies to the Colts and Geldings and the Ladbrokes Classic over 2,000 metres, Ishtarak steps up to the 2,000 metres for Kieran McAvoy, drawing barrier 6.
Yeah, he needs to step up, but the blinkers go on as well. He's a bit of a colt, poured the work into him. He seems to have responded in his work. It's a competitive field, but not a big one. Needs to improve, but wouldn't be impossible.
The time-honoured Coonji, which of course has been moved to Caulfield Cup Day, extra 0 scratch, so Samavare remains the runner in the race and comes off a pretty impressive run a couple of weeks back in the Naturalism. Damien Oliver with barrier 11, 54 kilos.
Tricky gate, back to handicap conditions, should suit. Her form, brilliant in the handicaps. At Weight for Age the other day, she went forward and it was a bit suicidal, the pace, but she still hung on and was only beaten a couple of lengths. So one of our better chances for the day, I think.
Race 6 is the Moonga Stakes over 1,400 metres, a Group 3 for the 4-year-olds and up, set weights and penalties. 2 runners engaged who both enjoy the 1,400 metres. Tashby, known more perhaps for the 1,400 here at Flemington, but expecting it to be well engaged in this class. Particularly, it has shown some decent form at 1,400 at Caulfield.
He has. Quite unlucky. That 6th he ran, he could have been a lot closer. He'll run well. He's in great shape, very fit. And Gran Rosso, from that gate, should be very hard to beat. Things didn't quite go right in the big race the other day, and he's really trained on.
Craig Williams to ride Gran Rosso and Tashby, with Chad Schofield engaged, as said, Gran Rosso coming off that 9th in the Rupert Clark a couple of weeks ago. The Caulfield Sprint Group 2 1,000 metres, and Fardanar after a second in this race last year when splitting our boy Malachi and Lankan Rupi, heads to the race coming off a 6th first up in the Moya.
Yeah, it was a good 6th. He was quite unlucky. Track work suggests he's flying. If he doesn't win this week, he'll be very hard to beat at Flemington, in great form.
Hugh Bowman taking the ride from gate 1, 58 kilos as well. To the Caulfield Cup, 4 runners trying to emulate the feats of the likes of Torquay. Let's start with He's Our Rocky, who's drawn 15 for Luke Nolan, comes off that run in the Craven Plate in Sydney last week, and obviously happy to back him up.
Look, he's out of form, but healthy and well. He's the outsider of the field. He's going to be ridden absolutely cold and look for miracle runs. And that often works with a horse. I've saddled up a lot worse long shots.
Ventura Storm draws barrier 7 for Damien Oliver, of barrier 4 in fact, 54 kilos. Superb here behind Winks in the Turnbull. Prior to that, of course, has had some experience at Caulfield as well. Its last win was a 2,400 metre Group 1 in Italy.
Yeah, he has been in Australia. He hasn't raced in a race that is at his distance, which is 1.5 miles to 2 miles. He's been qualified, so we've been under no pressure. We've just been getting him fit. And we're trying to peak him for this race in the Melbourne Cup. So I'd expect, with that gate, D. Oliver, very hard to beat, I think.
Boom time with Corey Parrish on board, just the 52 kilos. Into barrier 3, comes off a 4th in the Herbert Power.
Yeah, that fourth was better than it reads because they went suicidal pace and all the leaders ran last and he was fighting out the finish. So we'll get a beautiful run, very fit, tough colt in form, much better chance than his odds suggest.
And finally, Harlem, the naturalism winner, which of course is the form that Jamaica brought to the Caulfield Cup on winning last year, draws barrier 1, which doesn't have a great record in the race, but 51.5 kilos, and as we said, Chad Schofield returns from Hong Kong to take the ride. Where does he sit from the run?
Look, he'll be right on the back of the pace. Last time he drew one, he won, which was the naturalism. The blinkers are a positive going on. He's responded well in the track work. We put the winkers on for the naturalism because we had to qualify, and he did that. The Bart Cummings, we didn't want to change the gear, and we just have been waiting to put blinkers on this horse. I really feel he'll respond well, fit, and a really good chance.
So 4 runners engaged in the Caulfield Cup. He's our Rocky. Boomtime, Harlem, and of course Ventura Storm as well. To race 9, the Tristark for the mares over 1,400 metres of Group 2, and Rocket Commander comes in off a 4-week freshen.
Yeah, she's. We've been waiting for a bit of rain. Luckily, we've had a bit. I don't know if we've had enough. Really tough race, but the mare in form.
Blake Shin from Barrier 9 to jump in race 9 tomorrow. Pretty well stocked race, the Tristark. To the final race of the day, the Carlton Draft Lingy Stakes, 1,100 metres for the mares. And we see Furyk, after runs in the Cockram and How Now, it was close up at Caulfield over 1,200, drops back to the 1,100 here.
Yeah, she burnt her bumpers at her last start. We freshened her up, and look, she's, I think, a filly that hasn't shown her best this prep, but she's recovered from burning her bumpers and should improve a lot. And in the Get Out Stakes, I think she's a good, probably filly to have a few dollars on. She'll run well.
Strong hand on the final day of the Caulfield Carnival, a Lindsay Park best?
Probably Sam Avere with D. Oliver from a bad gate, but back in class handicap should be hard to beat.
We'll see you next week for a big look at Manicato and Cox Plate Day on Lindsay Park's social and online channels.